Taking you through from beginner to advanced, here are the 4 ways that you can progress your squat. So let's start our squat by using a TRX. The reason why we want to start here is because we can use the TRX to help find our full range of motion in the squat. Because it's taken away my body weight, that allows me to work through the full range of motion. Essentially what I want to do is I want to start with the handles up next to the chest and then squat down as low as I can and then come back up again, going through its full range of motion. What the handles do is give me support to allow me to squat through the full range. So I simply hold, use the weight, and then come back up again. So essentially using the suspension trainer, this will allow me now to be able to go through as low as I can and drawing my knees over my toes, sinking my hips down as low as I can get. If this wasn't here, for a lot of people, they might find themselves falling backwards or falling over from that position. So what we want to do is use that suspension trainer to help us work through that full range and develop strength through that, because what you can also do is as you get stronger is you can lighten the grip. So to start off with, you might find yourself gripping pretty hard, but then you might just find that you're just using the touch, or you're just kind of just touching it, so it's just providing you a little bit of support. So as you reduce that support, what that will then allow you to do is allow you to get stronger working through that full range before then progressing to where you don't have support necessarily, but now you're actually starting to load the squat instead. The next progression would then be to use a counterbalance weight to allow us to try and squat the same range of motion as what we did with the TRX, but without using support, but rather starting to load the area. So essentially I grab the medicine ball, or it can be a kettlebell or a dumbbell, or basically any apparatus that I bring in front of me. And what this weight is doing is it's going to offset my hips going backwards, which will allow me to get the depth in the squat to eventually match what I'm doing with the suspension trainer. What most people might find is that as they squat down straight away after using the TRX is that they might find themselves falling backwards and not being able to work the full range that they were with the TRX. So once you've established the range of motion that you're capable of achieving through the suspension trainer, you then want to achieve that same range of motion in a goblet or a compensation squat before progressing to the barbell. So essentially the difference from going from a goblet squat or a compensation squat into a front squat is that instead of the weight being out in front of me, now the weight is more sitting on top of me. So it's still going to be in front because it's going to be in the front of the shoulders. So it's still going to require us to engage our core, and it doesn't yet require the mobility of the external rotation in our shoulders and the thoracic mobility of our spine to be able to hold the bar in a comfortable position and a safe position. So you're basically moving away from requiring more of your core to less of your core and more of your leg strength in the movement. However, we do want to build that foundation of core strength before going into this exercise, because we still need to try and keep that upright position while we go down in the movement. So finally, the last progression is to sit the bar behind the shoulders, which will be a barbell back squat. And this is typically going to be your strongest squat position, because the bar sitting on your back means that you've got a lot of support through your body and torso to be able to hold that weight. So you find that getting here is the ideal goal, because then you can squat the maximal loading. Once we do have the barbell on the back, there's a few factors that we need to consider before progressing here. As you're progressing this exercise, you're moving from the front squat through to the back squat. You're really taking the bar and then bringing it behind the shoulders to then sit comfortably in your back. And you can see how I'm really engaged my scapula to do that. The other thing too is I need to be able to bring my hands in close enough and create a position where I can still bring my elbows to where I can then brace through my core and through my torso while still sticking my sternum out. And the reason for this is I want to lock in my posture through my torso to make sure that as I go through the movement, as I go down, that I'm not allowing the torso to start to hunch over. If you're struggling to get the bar over your shoulder, what you will find is that as you go down, eventually you're going to end up hunching over, and that's going to put a lot of pressure through your lower back. If you're finding yourself getting sore in the lower back after a set of back squats, it's probably to do with you losing your posture on the way down, and then that weight bearing getting loaded onto your lumbar spine, and it doesn't feel nice. So there are 4 progressions of the squat, moving from the suspension trainer to the goblet squat to a front squat, and then finally to the back squat.